Could a big move be coming? Well, this New York Knicks insider thinks there's a pretty big chance. We'll break that down on today's show. But first, make sure you are subscribed, because if the Knicks do make a big move, we are going to make a video. We put out free videos, multiple videos every single day, and I don't want you to miss it. And I'm asking for your help. We're almost at our goal of 77.5 thousand subscribers. If you could, please hit that big red sub button. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's talk about it. James L. Edwards III, the Athletics beat reporter for the New York Knicks, did a mailbag article where he was asked a question: what do you think the chances are the New York Knicks could trade one of the starters? And he said, I think there's a 40% chance one of the usual starters isn't on the roster opening night. He then said, after I typed that out, it felt a little bit high, but I think the point is a move involving either Jalen Brunson, not going to happen, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, or Karl Anthony Towns, at a minimum, is being talked about in the front office by Leon Rose. Because Leon Rose told us our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. And I think we would all agree we're proud of the way the season went for the New York Knicks, while also realizing they fumbled an opportunity to get to the NBA Finals. And I think we all would agree that there needs to be a move or two made to get this roster in a spot that they could win the NBA Finals. And Leon Rose, I hope you're watching this. Firing Tom Thibodeau cannot be the only championship move that you make this offseason. Because Tom Thibodeau is not the only reason you did not win a championship. This roster needs to be better. There needs to be more shooting added. There needs to be more ball handling and creation added. However ways or many ways you want to slice it, the New York Knicks have to improve their roster. And if they're going to make a big trade, they're going to have to trade one of their big fishes. You look at the roster. You look at the salary cap. Karl Anthony Towns making $53.1 million. OG Anunoby nearly making $40. Jalen Brunson at $35. Shout out to him for that extension he took and the discount. He's a legend for that. Build that statue. Mikal Bridges in the final year of his contract. We know how the New York Knicks operate when we get to those terms. Then Josh Hart makes $19.4 million. And you got a guy like Mitchell Robinson making about $12.9. I do want to make it clear, the original starters, or the main starters he was talking about, was the ones that started 95 games for the Knicks. Cat, OG, Hart, Bridges, and Brunson. Edwards made it clear early on in the article, Jalen Brunson is safe. And yeah, he is safe. I don't like to say never when discussing sports and sports moves. I don't know what the word is to say. I would be more than shocked or extremely shocked, but mortified? I would be mortified if they traded Jalen Brunson. I would cry. I would be upset. I think there's about a 0.1% chance that it happens. So let's go to his buddy, his roommate, his Villanova teammate, Josh Hart. James L. Edwards saying this: I also think Josh Hart will be around. He is a good player who doesn't make too much money relative to the other guys in the starting unit. And he's best friends with Jalen Brunson. Never say never, but I'd be surprised if Hart isn't on the roster next season, assuming he'll still want to be here. There has been no indication whatsoever that he doesn't want to. So it sounds like he wants to be here, and you never say never, but I'm not going to go as far as to say that Josh Hart is safe. And I'm definitely not going to say that because he is best friends with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was best friends with Ryan Arcidiacono, and they traded him 3 times. He was best friends with Dante DiVincenzo, and they traded him. He publicly endorsed Tom Thibodeau and said that Tom Thibodeau was his favorite coach ever, and they fired him. Leon Rose will always do right by Jalen Brunson. I 100% believe that. But I also believe that Jalen Brunson will see Leon Rose will do whatever it takes to get Jalen Brunson a ring. And if Rose thinks trading Josh Hart does that, then I think he will. And I think the way that Josh Hart played in the playoffs this year at least raises the question of, is he movable? Is he someone we should think about moving? He was really good against Detroit. And I thought he had some really good moments against the Boston Celtics. He was not good against the Indiana Pacers. Not good at all. He consistently turned the ball over. And he was a non-factor on the offensive end. Look, I don't ever expect for Josh Hart to be throwing in 20-point games or whatever you may have it, but he shot 18% from three against the Indiana Pacers. He had 18 assists to 13 turnovers. If you're not going to make shots and you're going to turn the ball over in big-time games, in my opinion, you can't play. I don't think the Knicks should trade Josh Hart. If it gets you a better player and it gets you better chances to win a championship, yes, you do it. I do think the Knicks need to fully move Josh Hart to the bench. And I think they need to move him from playing 40 minutes a game to 24 minutes a game. Let him be a super six man. Let him be a super sub. Josh Hart, I love him. I named my dog after Josh Hart. I don't have many bad things to say about him. One of my favorite players I have seen be a member of this team. But I also realize that he has his shortcomings. And if you're a 6'4" wing that can't shoot and you get guarded by other centers and you cause defenses to be able to collapse and eliminate driving lanes for Jalen Brunson and eliminate space to operate for Karl Anthony Towns, probably don't need to be playing 40 minutes. I love Josh Hart. I don't think it's impossible that he's traded. And I guess we'll just talk about more of that later. Let's go to what Edwards had to say here about Bridges. Bridges will be eligible to sign a 4-year, $156 million extension this offseason. He's a good player despite having a rocky first year with the Knicks. And there's definitely a world where New York wants him to take less on that extension. Conversely, there's a world where Bridges doesn't take less. Furthermore, it's very reasonable to assume that Bridges, who's always healthy, might want to play out next year without signing an extension and try to get a deal similar to the one OG signed for 5 years and $212 million. Bridges is asked to do a lot defensively, doesn't miss games, and moves the needle on offense as a third option. So I don't think it's impossible for him to get traded if the two sides are off on extension talks. The Knicks under Leon Rose have already shown they trade players they are far off on extension talks with. It's almost like I told you guys this time last year, they were nowhere close with Julius Randle on an extension. And then what did they do with Julius Randle? I like Bridges. I'm not sure I love Mikal Bridges. And I definitely don't love Mikal Bridges if he wants to play for this team for $40 million. He has his strengths. He has his weaknesses. He is a good defender. He is a clutch defender. He has a nice mid-range game on the offensive end. He's a very streaky outside shooter. He is very limited as a ball handler and very limited as a creator. Maybe in a new offense where he's not regulated to the corner because of Tom Thibodeau, he'll be able to show off more of those skills. I just don't know if he is the perfect fit next to Jalen Brunson in the backcourt because I think it's become obvious Brunson needs to play a little bit more off ball, and I don't know if Bridges is the one that I want handling the ball in the clutch time. I think we saw what happened when that happened. Keep your eye on that extension. I'll just say that. Just like I told you to keep your eye on that extension with Julius Randle. If Mikal Bridges and the Knicks, like Edwards alluded to, are far off on the terms of an extension, he's forcing the Knicks' hand. And the Knicks like control. The Knicks like to look forward. The Knicks want to have player control. They did it with Randle. They've done it with other players. If Bridges does not sign that extension, he might be signing away his Knicks career. That's all I'll say. For OG Anunoby, he might be the player rival teams want most if the Knicks attempt to make a big trade, says Edwards. Also, maybe New York wants to prioritize depth this offseason, and Anunoby could be flipped for a few pieces. OG making $39 million or whatever it was that we showed at the beginning of this video, maybe that could be broken in to a two-player type of deal where you bring someone back that makes $20 million and another player that makes $19.5 million. Maybe. I don't think trading OG Anunoby gets you closer to a championship team. He's one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. One of the best defenders in the NBA. Needs to become a better shooter. Shot like 33% from three this year in the playoffs. Did not shoot the ball well from the corners. He's growing offensively, but he's got to be a better shooter. I just don't think trading him makes you more likely to win an NBA title. Edwards also saying, and that's where I'm at with Towns as well. Anunoby and Towns are very good players, but both guys have lengthy deals and have dealt with injuries throughout their careers. If you told me New York might try to give off of one of those, I wouldn't be totally surprised. And that brings us to Karl Anthony Towns. If I was the GM, I think I would be trying to move off of Karl Anthony Towns. It's not because I don't like him. I do. He's had some big-time moments for this team. That, what was it, Game 5 against the Pacers or Game 3 against the Pacers? I don't remember. We had that 20-point fourth quarter. Some of the best runs of the Knicks playoffs against the Pacers were when Karl Anthony Towns was surrounded by two defenders. I just don't know if Karl Anthony Towns at 30 years old is worth $60 million. Like, that's tough. Can Karl Anthony Towns make 34% of the cap at 30 years old? And can you win an NBA championship? I think you could. You got to make some really nice, clever, shrewd moves outside of that. I think the better question might be, can Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson win a championship together? Can your two best players be somewhat liabilities on defense? Does Karl Anthony Towns have the DNA of a winner? I don't know. Is he clutch? I have my questions and concerns. I do think that Brunson and Cat can be the best two-man offensive game in the NBA. But you got to get stops in the playoffs. Look what the Thunder are doing to the Pacers. They're getting stops, and they're one win away from being NBA champs. And does Karl Anthony Towns have trade value around the NBA? Because how I feel about the contract, I'm sure other teams, the all other 29 teams, also feel the same way. So I'll ask you this question. Who do you think is most likely to get traded? A 40% chance, according to James L. Edwards, which I should have said at the top of the show. I've linked his article in the description of this video. Go check it out. Go read it. Get a subscription to The Athletic and support him. He crushed it on his first year on the beat. Who do you think is most likely to get traded? Let me know in the comment section. If I had to order who is most likely, I think it's Mikal Bridges. If he does not sign that contract extension, he might be signing away his career as a New York Knick. I then think it's Josh Hart, because I think you could pair Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, $20 million for Hart, $14 for Robinson, and get to 34 and get a good player. I then think it's OG, because like Edwards talked about, he has a lot of trade value. And then I think it's Cat and then Brunson, and Brunson's not getting traded. If he does, I'll tell you I was wrong. A move has to be coming, because you're not a championship roster. And firing the coach and replacing him doesn't make you a championship team. And when the Knicks make a move, we are going to make a video. Subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, be a real one. And also, give me a follow on social media. We could talk more about it over there.